LILAC. Yeah. All right. So, okay. So first thing I got to tell you is your name, right? Because when I give you your name, it's like in Greek letters. Is that right or not? Is it Greek or not Greek?
No. I think the guys just like, I think there's a big wave of a lot of bands that are using like V's instead of A's now. And so like there's like the band Paris that uses a V instead of an A. There's like Rashad and like there's just a bunch of artists and Landmarks and stuff that are all using V's instead of A's now. And so like our band, we liked the band name Lilac, but we wanted to use a V instead of an A. And then I guess just for symmetry for the logo, it just looked cooler to add a Y in there. We already aren't spelling correctly. Like, let's just go all in,
Yeah, right. Yeah, I thought that was it's definitely unique because, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, am I learning something? Who knows? Maybe I am. So I just want to, I was going through your bios and I'm going through your videos and stuff. I wasn't aware of you until it was brought up to me. It's very unique, I think, in a lot, and very, I don't want to say theatrical, but it's very, I'm trying to think of the word. But
it froze for me. What was your last?
I said you're kind of theatrical in a way, in a sense, and your videos are, I should say. Is that how your live performances are as well?
We're like really high energy. I think so we're really big on making our songs like when we're writing our lyrics and everything like that, we are putting a lot of emotion into whatever that song is. And so like whatever we're feeling, we want to make sure that like if people are listening to our music, that they can feel those lyrics too, and that they can relate, and that they know that they're not alone. And so I think when it comes to video representation, we're really we also find that very important in order to make sure that they really get the message. So like whatever we wrote that song about, we try to make that visually apparent as well. So, we'll go all out, so even like with Undertow, for example, of like the feeling of you're drowning or you're overwhelmed and nobody's willing to help you, like they'll watch you, they'll monitor your progress, they'll write down, are they sinking or swimming, right? But they're not going to actually like help you. And so when I thought like, let's put ourselves in a water tank, and I can have these waterproof electrodes on my head and my chest, and I'm banging, just banging on the glass, just like begging to be, get out, because like the water is, filling up to my chest, and now it's up to I'm going to die. I'm not going to be able to breathe soon. And so like, see like whether for them to let me out, but they're just bringing my vitals and stuff like that. And so we try to do that with our videos. And then even with the upcoming videos that we're about to be releasing, which I'm sure we'll go over soon, it's just going to be that plus a way further level. Like we'll get into that. But as for our live shows, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm putting on costumes and all that stuff, because like I said, it's all based on the song that we do our music videos, like whatever that emotion is. But I will say that our live shows are very super high energy. So like all of us are like throwing our bodies all over the stage. We're jumping. We're climbing light towers. We're headbanging on the top of light towers. Like we're like Cam, he plays his keyboard and he's like lifting his keyboard above his head. We're all very, very very high energy. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. It sounds intense as well. It can be, right? Some of the songs that are written. Some of the, when I was going through, is it, so as I read your bio and I'm going through everything, it says Linkin Park is basically a huge influence for you guys. Is that kind of true as well? That style, I should say.
Well, so when I went to Cam and we were kind of discussing, like, if I ever started a new band, like what would I like to, I guess, start with, like, and I was always loving, so I've always loved Linkin Park. I've always loved the idea of combining rap and rock. but with a female singer. Like I knew that hadn't really been done, but I wanted more like modern choruses, or like even like catchier like pop choruses, like with the rock metal element. And so I thought, like, maybe what if you took Bring Me the Horizon and Linkin Park had a baby, but then put our own spin on it. And so Cam is like this music genius that, like, at first when I met him, I thought he only wrote like a lot of synthwave stuff and pop stuff, but he wrote metal breakdowns, and it just surprised the crap out of me that how good they were. And so I think Cam can talk on like how he kind of adapted more into the LILAC style, because I think we started with a little box of Bring Me the Horizon meets Linkin Park with the chick singer, and then Cam just made it into his own, like what he felt like when he was writing those individual songs. Cam, do you want to add to that?
Sure. And it's just like, I think a lot of people get lost in like the genre of the moment. Like what Linkin Park sounds and feels like today is different than what it sounded and felt like 15 years ago or something when it came out. Even though it's the exact same song, like we've changed. And so like if you show it, it's like, this will touch my soul. It's like, well, it touched your soul 15 years. How you would kind of demonstrate that. It's almost like the language has changed and you need to learn how to speak the new version of the same thing. So a lot of people get hung up on the genre or what it is in the moment. It's just like, no, what is the emotion that you can evoke? It's like my favorite emotion I talk about all the time is like the first time you heard metal, and like when you were like 10 or a teenager, you're like, I'm not supposed to be listening to this, and I like this feeling. Like that emotion. Like how do you capture that in 2024 for the next generation? You're going to do it differently. Like what instrumentation and like what stuff you do like is going to be completely different depending on like where we are musically in the world. And so my challenge is how can we make the modern version of those emotions we felt when we first listened to Linkin Park or whichever band.
Right. And from what I read, did you write all the music?
Yes.
And that drums and everything?
Yeah.
Wow. So how did that come about? Are you like, did you grow up in a musical family? I
actually did the right thing where like I was a little kid and just wanted to play classical piano, which is the nerdiest thing ever, but it worked out really well because if you can learn classical piano, the rest of it's mostly downhill from there. So I learned like music the correct way, and then in high school, like I wanted girls to like me, so I learned guitar. The girl part didn't work, but I learned how to play guitar pretty well. And then that was kind of the point where like, so I had this very like traditional like deep theory background in music. And then that's kind of when a lot of software kind of started becoming very accessible and like electronic music. But then I could combine whichever version of those two things I need. Because like the big theme in our band is like, I think people use technology to cheat a lot. Like, that people dislike autotune because when people use it badly. They don't dislike autotune. They dislike when people use it badly. So it kind of gets a bad rap. There's plenty of albums that are better because of autotune. And there's a bunch of albums that shouldn't have existed because of autotune. And so we're kind of trying to have that, because that's the world we live in, is this kind of cyborg, like we have such a, technology is around us all the time. And it almost kind of forces us to re-examine our humanity and like, how can we make the best art? It's almost like we automate and use as much technology to allow the human part to shine through. At least that's the goal,
It's working. I mean, I'll say, it's pretty impressive, everything I was listening to, because you got, what is it, 2 EPs? Did I read that?
No. So we have, we have 1 EP, Perfect Drug, and then we released a single called Crawl Space.
Okay.
But the new EP that we're about to release, and that's why we're, talking to you today, is so we have a lot of unreleased music right now that we've been getting everything revved up for. We've booked a lot of video shoots, but that's what we're about to release very, very soon. So the new music, for example, we have a couple songs that we recorded with the same guys in LA at West Valley Studios, Howard Benson's studio. We were produced by Mike Plotnikoff and Joe Ricard for the first EP. We went back to them for a couple other songs, kind of like how we did with Crawl Space. But then the big ones, the new EP that's coming out, we wrote with Kane Churko. And Kane Churko, he's recorded like Blood from In This Moment. He actually helped write that song. But anyway, he's written a lot of songs for In This Moment. He's written a lot of songs for Five Finger Death Punch and Disturbed. And Ozzy Osbourne and everybody. And so we went to him, and I think what was cool about him is that like he has the brain kind of like Cam. Like they're both very like into like what is a future sound, like let's write a new sound with weird new plugins that no one's ever heard of like now, you know? And so they got very passionate about like finding the new sound for LILAC. And like it's still us, but it's like we really dove deep into like, instead of like, who cares about like these genre boxes that everybody knows and is comfortable with right now, like let's break those barriers and try to push those boundaries a little bit. And so like they let me like Kane, for example, like normally when it comes to rock music, a lot of female singers in the rock industry, we kind of just like we sing with rasp and we stay like only within a certain range or whatever, and we don't really do a lot of like pop style choruses, like harmonies and stuff like that.
Right.
But there was like one song that where we had like an instrumental break, and it just like okay, there's no music here, and Kane was like, Alyse, I want you to do some crazy Christina Aguilera type note that just won't fucking like let's just see what that let's see what that sounds like. And I did it, and it sounded great when you put like with, you know, rock guitars and everything like that, you put rock music with it. Holy crap, like this actually sounds really freaking cool. So I had like a weird pop vocal there where I'm just really highlighting my vocal dynamics that I've never really done in a rock song before. And I don't know, we were just really breaking barriers. And so the new song that's coming up, Barely Human. So Barely Human is one of the 5 songs that we wrote and recorded with Kane Churko. And Barely Human is kind of about like what Cam was talking about with like as technology is really taking over the world and AI is, you know, really becoming apparent everywhere. What if there was a computer virus that like spread through the world and it happened to like infect like humans, you know, and a lot of the humans died, okay, but it had some sort of integration with DNA code or whatever, and it infected DNA. A lot of humans died, and of the humans that remained, I guess their genetic code could interact with machine code better, and so they could like maybe like if we get an arm blown off, we, you know, put on robotic parts and stuff, and we like have, I guess, better adaptability with like out taking immune suppressants and stuff like that. Like some people's bodies just interact better with machine parts than other humans, right? And so like in this
cyborg
world, like what if it's like a post-apocalyptic world? Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So like in the we were thinking of like at the end of the world, what if there's like this after apocalypse era where like we're all barely human, like, you know, like we're fighting at the end of this world, like, you know, where like most of us all have like some robotic parts, you know, we're part human, part robot or whatever, but like some people are just like, you know, who cares? Let's just go all AI, you know, let's remove all of our empathy. Let's just go full robot, guys, you know, new era. And then there's other people, there's other humans that are fighting for no human rights, you know, empathy. Let's stay as human as possible. And so they're like clashing and they're fighting each other. And so as one person loses an eye, they got to put a robotic eye in there. And so it's just like this, like we're all like barely human anymore. And it's like this code that is kind of like breaking down humanity, you know? And so we wrote that song about it, and it's really cool. And so I thought, how are we going to make this epic music video really give that visualized idea, you know, of the song?
Sounds like a movie.
So do you yeah, it does, exactly.
Or a book.
So how are we going to make it yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so excited. I'm glad you said that.
I would say you could almost do, I mean, just with that premise, right? I was thinking when you're talking about it, I'm thinking, you know, you do like, I don't know if you like Operation Mindcrime or like, you know, The Wall, you know, one of those albums like that you can keep building on that song, right? Or that idea, right? For sure.
Super sick. That's a cool idea. Okay, cool. Yeah. So we were thinking of that, like, and so since it is such an epic movie in our heads, you know, and the song turned out so good and it's so catchy, and it's a lot of our favorite songs to do. Like, we start our set with that song. It's just really hard hitting and amazing. And so I thought, who's going to do this music video. And we loved working with Scott for our previous music videos. Scott Hansen from Digital Thunderdome, he was great. But I really wanted to get somebody who's good at like visual effects with like robotic arms and stuff. And we saw the video that Falling in Reverse put out, you know, the song Ronald.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know how like that, like their visual like effects was just epic, like in that song Ronald. And so our management reached out to Jensen Noen, who created that video. And we are going to be working with Jensen Noen in July in order to do our video for Barely Humans. So we're hoping once we do the shoot, we're hoping for an August release.
Okay, so is that when does the EP come out?
Yeah, so we're gonna trickle them out. Like we're gonna do. We've already bought a couple videos with Scott Hansen, so we're gonna do a couple more videos with him because he's amazing. We're gonna do the Barely Human video shoot. We're doing all of these in July, and so we're gonna release Barely Human single first in August, probably with a fall tour announcement. And then, you know, after that, every 6 to 8 weeks, we'll be popping out a couple more singles from that EP, and then we'll just release the full EP. Yeah.
How many songs are on this EP?
There's 5 songs on the Kane Churko EP, and then we have more music, like I said, that we've recorded in LA that we haven't released either.
Awesome.
So it's just we're gonna smack everybody in the faces with
awesome.
Starting.
So are you guys still on tour with Pop Eagle? Because I thought I seen that you were.
No, we finished the tour with Pop Evil. And like I said, right now we're just focused on music video shoots and stuff for the upcoming releases. So we have a couple shows booked in November already, but they're kind of like ad hoc, kind of smaller tours. But a larger tour we're hoping to book sometime in September, October, fall timeframe.
Cool. So Cam, when you're creating these musics, do you just kind of nerd out and just kind of, you know, see what you come up with? Or do you have stuff already in your head that you want to come out, that you want to come out?
I feel like I wake up every morning and I'm a different person. Probably a lot of people feel that way. So I try to have a process, but then I make a new one every time. So, I mean, I like, I guess you would call it sound design. Like a lot of, I think I get bored with metal sometimes because like everybody, there's like we've established how to do it. You have double bass, crash cymbal, and guitars and a bass. So I was like, okay, like, but we just heard that sound. You've heard that sound 10,000 different ways. I'm like, how can I take this idea? And that's why I kind of got into like deep into synthesizers, because like a lot of synthesizers like corny 80s stuff, which that's not my deal at all. But it was like, what if we took the sound and just ran it through like 15 distortion pedals and then like loop it back on itself so it fades back, and like trying to create these. I mean, it's all about creating the feeling, but it was like I like using the wrong way. It's like I try to make my keyboard sound like guitars and make my guitars sound like keyboards, just because it forces me to kind of operate in a different box.
Right.
And like, there's so much, like technology has gotten so cool that you can go so fast about like creating things, which means I can just do more. Doesn't mean it means I take just as long. I just do 14 extra things now. But like I'll take like something I've been doing recently is like I take like a sound of like scraping metal, just like, but then that's like, it's kind of a consistent pitch. And if it's a consistent pitch, I can turn that into a sample and make that a synthesizer at it. So like sometimes I'll make my leads that are literally metal. They're like, I literally take a sound of metal and use it as a keyboard in a metal song. So that stuff makes me happy. Like those little things where it's trying to use like weird ways to get to the end result. Because the audience doesn't care how cool it is; they care how it sounds. And a lot of art music kind of forgets like you can have the coolest process, but if it doesn't sound good, nobody cares. You know,
right.
But then on the other end, there's like people who just make content, which do what you want to do, but like it's like they're just focused on, we have to make a new song. What is trending now? Let's go do this. I'm like, okay, I get that side of things, but I think there should be a marriage of like you can have consistent good output and understand trends and where things are going, but it's also your job as an artist to kind of play with chaos and like try to do something and like hide those little details inside of it, you know?
Yeah, I will say that you don't sound like other bands that I've heard, newer bands that are coming out, that I'm not a big, that I don't understand a lot of it. And maybe I go, maybe it's that I'm getting too old. You know what I mean? But I appreciate yours because it doesn't sound like anything else.
Thank you.
You know, that's coming out. So that's a plus. I like that. So
Awesome.
I'm eager to hear what you guys
really
have.
human.
Yeah, I'm definitely. It sounds like you do sound design. Is what you should be in, like sound design for movies or something like that, some sci-fi movie or something.
Maybe one day.
But I mean, I did read that, you know, Trent Reznor is like one of your, I don't say idols, maybe influences for sure.
Sure.
And you know, he does, you know, whatever he can do, pretty much that as well. So is that where you're kind of like, I've seen him do it, I think I could do it, and I can do more, or just.
And I really liked I like a lot of his music, obviously, but also I like more his like mentality on stuff. He's just like, fuck it, I'll do it myself, kind of thing. You're doing it wrong. He's like, I'm gonna do it twice as wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then especially seeing him age as an artist, because you know, like everybody's like a punk when they're 19, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That but like seeing how does he maintain or lose his like artistic integrity as he grows older, and seeing that like no, like this is who he is, you know. And I really like something he talks about in particular. He's like, I chose to pursue authenticity and play in a capitalist game, but if I lost, then I lost, but I maintained it. He's like, and I got lucky, which he says. He's like, this shouldn't have worked. He's like, there's no reason Closer should be playing alongside Madonna in a club. He's like, I'm as confused as you guys are.
Yeah.
But it was like, there's something beautiful about like people who risk it and they win. But he was like, I would have risked it even if I didn't win. You know, and I like that. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I want to be an artist. I was like, do you want to be successful or do you want to be an artist? Which was more important to you? They're like, both. It was like, you got to pick one. What's the most important thing to you, you know?
For sure. I mean, he's scoring movies, you know?
Yeah, and it's wonderfully.
So, and I think he got an Oscar for it.
To adapt and like find his art, new mediums. And like, that's an artist mentality. It's like, he's not a musician, he's an artist. And like, wherever the doors are, he's going to flow through that. That's also comforted me as I get older. Like I don't want to be like, oh, I make this kind of music. It's like, I make this kind of music. That's what I'm feeling today. But 10 years from now, I'm going to be a different place and the world's going to be a different place. Like I still want to be able to create in that place and do something like this authentic and maybe beautiful then.
Yeah, for sure. And so Alyse, you mentioned Christina Aguilera. I think I've seen Demi Lovato is an influence as well. And I know she's starting to branch out into the rock world. She's doing songs.
Yeah, I mean, I think
here and there.
I mean, yeah, it's not really like, I don't know, like growing up, I loved like Chris Cornell and like Linkin Park and like, okay, so I'm influenced by two main things. I'm a vocalist, so I love like vocal dynamics of like, wow, I actually have to practice this note to hit it. Like that's great to me. Or I have to practice going from these low to high or loud to soft and like the chest blends and head blends and stuff like that. Wow, they had a lot of control to be able to do that run or whatever, right? So Chris Cornell was really, really good at adapting his like vocal style and really having huge vocal dynamics between soft, loud, loud, like high, low, all over the place, right? And I love that. So I'm drawn to that, but I'm also drawn to like lyrics that are kind of like painful. I mean, I guess I've been through a lot, and I think I relate to other people who have been through a lot because it makes me not feel alone, right? And so I loved Linkin Park, and like I just like growing up, like that was the main, like Hybrid Theory was one of my favorite albums that I never skipped one song. Like every single song was just like painful to me, and I related to it. And so a lot of other artists like that I even listened to like blues and stuff growing up because I wanted pain. I wanted other people that were going through like just run through the mud because I was. And so like I wanted to I don't know. So I think I listen to a variety of artists as long as I hear a lot of vocal dynamics, like where I'm like impressed by like, oh, okay, they had to practice that in order to be able to hit those notes, Right. And then I also really enjoy like, like lyrics that have depth. You know, it doesn't always have to be painful, but it's not like generic lyrics that are just like, woo, you know?
Yeah, ooh, baby, baby.
Place for the woo songs. Yeah, exactly. There's a time and a place for the woo songs, but I really love the things that like hit me emotionally. And I think that's why I loved Cam's music, and it surprised me because, like I said, I thought he only wrote synth stuff when I first met him. But like when he was writing the songs that he was writing, like I felt it right away, and lyrics started flooding my head right away. I only hear lyrics in my head very quickly when I feel a song. If Cam sends me the skeleton of an instrumental and I don't feel anything, then it doesn't hit me. But if an instrumental can hit me emotionally, where I already have a story in my head, that's a good song, you know, because lyrics haven't even been added to it and you already feel it.
Yeah,
know?
right, for sure.
So yeah. So influence wise, I mean, I like Paramore. I mean, I like Chris Cornell. I liked a lot. I have a wide variety of artists that I love.
So when you're doing live shows, how do you prep? Because you know you're hitting some notes, right? So is there a lot of?
I am.
There's a lot of lemon and tea and honey and things going around.
Yeah, I mean, well, Cam can also probably speak to like the bus.
It's a problem. I think our bus is about 30% filled with like honey, and there's like 6 bunks for our honey, and we're like in a little corner.
Yeah, right. That's all your canned chicken, man. You have canned chicken everywhere. Even if you open up the oven, it's just full of canned chicken. Like he's found storage. But yeah, no, I definitely have hot tea with honey, and it has to be local honey, because I think that a lot of the random store-bought honey, that unless it says raw local honey, so a lot of the honey that you get in the store, it's just like added sugar, and it like crystallizes really quick and stuff. It actually makes that kind of honey makes me like get that phlegm in the back of your throat, you know, and it affects my vocal control. So I actually don't. I don't do well with sugar in my tea, or like the I guess cheaper kind of store-bought honeys. I like raw local honey. So going to farmers markets. So like when we're going through different states and cities on the tour, if they get to explore the city a little bit, if they come across any local honey in like South Carolina or Florida or California or Texas or wherever we're at, I love getting honey from every state that we visit. I love it because I taste different flavors. Like every state has a different aftertaste and flavor. That I get to explore. But then also like, it's good for my voice. So I drink a lot of tea with honey. And then my vocal teacher, Liz Lewis, I work with Libby Lavella and Liz Lewis. And Liz Lewis works with like Demi Lovato and Rihanna and a lot of people. They've taught me like a lot of different vocal warm-ups that I think really help me go from low ranges to extremely high ranges, but keep the health of my voice, so I'm not like straining or pushing. And so that way, you know, if we're doing a 30-day tour and we have barely like 0 breaks, you know, it's just night after night after night of singing it hard and doing some crazy high runs, you know, very high notes and stuff. I need to be able to make sure that I'm not damaging my voice, so that everybody, even on the later dates of the tour, they can hear those high notes and stuff, and I'm not straining. So I think vocal warm-ups are very important. Yeah.
I mean, and it's nice to go to a show where you're listening to a band who, I don't want to say sounds exactly like an album, because that takes away from the live experience, I think. You don't have to sound exactly, but at least hit the notes, right? Do what you can. So I'm guessing that there's not much the quote unquote partying or drinking or any of that stuff really hardcore going on, because obviously you're not going to be able to perform and sing the way you do if any of that stuff's going on. Not that you can't have a drink or two, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm guessing.
I think that, unfortunately, I did, by writing lyrics and vocal melodies that are crazy, I pretty much X'd out any chance of me being an actual rock star. Like,
yeah, right.
Cam is there. I did it to myself. Yeah, like Cam and them are just like, hey, what if you try this like vocal range that's just like, you know, like way down here and it's easy through the whole song? And I'm just like, that sounds boring. And I get really bored by that idea. And so like I try to push it or add a high note here in the bridge and stuff. And Cam's like, okay, I mean, you're going to have to practice. And I can't drink coffee on those days. And I don't drink alcohol until the last day of the tour. I get done with my song, you know, I get done with our set, and I get to clink glasses with the boys. Like the boys, they get to drink the whole tour. Like they can have fun. They can be rock stars, but you know, but I can't. You know, like I have to wait until the last day of the tour to clink glasses with everyone.
Well, I mean, it's going to work out better in the end, right? I mean, at least I hope so. So, have you guys played on any of the festivals going around? Like,
not yet. No. Yeah. So, we want to get on festivals for sure. We're working with Sound Talent Group. So our booking agent switched from APA to Sound Talent Group, and yeah, they're working on getting us some tours for the Barely Human release and for the EP release coming up.
And so do you just, how many run are you said you do like a 30-day run, or how long was the Pop Evil run?
Wasn't it like 30, was it 23 days, Cam? It was like 23
Yeah, I think we were on the road for like a month and some change, 23 days or something like that.
Right.
Is that your average tour?
Yeah, it's normally like you do 5 shows in a row and you have 1 day to do laundry, and then 5 shows in a row and 1 day to do laundry, you know? So it's pretty much a month run, and if it starts on the West Coast, then since we live in North Carolina and our practice space and everything's in North Carolina, we have to drive the, week across country to start in California. So you got to
and then go back,
add that to the tour date that we're out on the road. Yep. Yep.
So you got to ask them politely if you can start on the East Coast this time and start in New York or Florida, at least a little closer. I never thought about that.
It was
because usually I didn't.
Wherever your equipment is, right?
Yeah, I mean that'd be nice, but I never thought that they usually start on the West Coast and then move east. I mean, usually you see a pattern, right? There's always a method to the madness, So what?
Yeah, it just depends on which tour we're on. Like the New Year's Day tour and the Treyu tour, both of those were West Coast tours that moved like through Texas in the middle of the United States. Like they moved, but like Pop Evil tour was East Coast and Midwest. So that one, so the recent Pop Evil tour, we did start on the East Coast. Cam, do you remember where we started? Didn't we start in Michigan, or where did we begin?
East Coast.
I know we
Michigan.
ended. Yeah. You're right.
I mean, it wasn't California.
We started like somewhere else, like New York. Yeah. It wasn't California. It was somewhere on the East Coast that we started, and then we moved over to Midwest.
That's not too bad. That's not bad. So,
yeah.
What are the things that you guys see in music today that you do and you don't like?
Cam, you're probably more opinionated on this, but I'll
complaining question. I mean, I think this is something I think is cool. Is that like there's so much amazing music in so many tiny little niche communities. Like I can't even describe it because I just keep finding infinite ones. Like this platform has this thing with these people and this kind of thing, and they're just all in this thing. They exchange memes like this, and like they have their own lingo, and it's like their own little community, and nobody else knows it. But there's 10,000 people that are just diehard in this thing. But there's thousands of those little 10,000 people communities just everywhere. And that's super exciting to me because that's how it should be. Because like in mass, most like most music's not going to touch you, but so much. Most art's not made for you. It's like, and there's like a few songs out there. There's a few artists out there that are like right now could just touch your soul in a way that nothing ever has. Right. And because technology and stuff has made it so accessible to be able to do that kind of stuff, that can happen. A lot of artists that didn't have we have more time and stuff that's so much more affordable than it was even 20 years ago, that so many more artists can create, release, and finish stuff and even makes a little bit of money doing it. It's not like going to be a lot of money, but it can be to sustain themselves. And I'm finding so many people are doing it just through the internet or just through these like weird underground shows, and it's like the more people are kind of ambivalent to like how things were done, there's these beautiful things that are happening. On the other side, like I think most people are completely unaware that that's the case. They still kind of live in a 6 genre world, and like they're like, oh, this is what I like. Why? Because they don't even know anything else exists. It's like when I talk to people who are like really into food, like preparing food and like locally grown stuff and this, and I like McDonald's. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, and it's just, they're like, dude, there's this like whole world of flavor that you've never even known that you don't know. Like it's beyond, and it would just like set your soul on fire, especially somebody can teach you that. And I think a lot of people are just completely unaware that there's so much like functional underground communities that are just, it's super beautiful to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it's because they don't even know where to fight them.
Yeah, I mean, it's underground. Like, if you're focused on making something cool, not selling it to the world, you know?
Well, and that's what the whole thing is, right? I want to keep it for myself. I don't want anyone else to know about it because it's my personal. Meanwhile, you know, and then it explodes, and they're like, well, I don't like those guys anymore because they sold out or whatever.
There's a truth to it, too, you know? Because there's like... Yeah. The exclusivity and the intimacy that can come from that is something really special.
For sure. I mean, it's nice, you know, that'd be like, you know, say one of your fans, you know, they want to keep you in this box because they're yours, right? But at the same time, you have to make a living. You have your own dreams. You only have your own where you want to go. And it, you know, if suddenly you blew up, you know, someone, you know, they're going to go, well, they sold out. I don't like them anymore. You know, Meanwhile, you haven't really changed. You've kind of evolved a little bit, and, you know, and a lot of other people have found you as well. So that, you know, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, but there's beauty on both ends too, you know, like as much as people rarely, I complain about the mainstream music industry, like Taylor Swift has found a way to make, like, it's not me, it's like vanilla ice cream. But like, there's a lot of people where I think they read into her stuff more than she intended to, but they're finding beauty whether it was supposed to be there or not. And it's touching, I guess, billions of people's lives. Yeah. Not my vibe and not people around me's vibe, but clearly, like, I'm glad those people do have their own music. And it's only the case because her team can sell shit really well, you know?
Yeah, because I couldn't tell you a song, but I know who she is. Yeah.
So, she's a great businesswoman.
It's brand, man.
I like some of the songs that she's made, but yeah. So I think with my, the thing that I guess, have noticed that I guess I'm not so much of a fan of is when it comes to like some of the, like, I guess, not necessarily like radio gatekeepers, but like, as you know, like a lot of the music industry is all about your connections, you know. Yep. Who do you know to get you on that festival, or who do you know to get you on that tour, or who do you know to get you like in this recording or writing with this person, or like, you know, releasing it this way so that it's larger, and who do you know to get you on this radio for like Octane and bigger stuff, right? It's a lot about who you know. And there are some gatekeepers that like are really particular with like the genre that they knew it back in the day as this. And so like if you're trying to be a unique band that's kind of genre defying, you know, like we have rap and rock, and Cam makes all these like crazy plug-in synth, you know, he changes up the instrumental so much or whatever. Like we're making unique sounds, and we can be like, we want to be unique. We don't want to create something that sounds derivative of something 20 years ago. You know, we don't want to do that. You guys have already heard that. We're not going to surprise you and wow you if we show you a song that sounds exactly like 20 years ago. So we want to make you something that just hits you hard with like, holy shit, I've never heard anything like this. I fucking love this, you know, and it hits you. So how can we get that heard on a larger mainstream radio station if somebody is just like, there's rap in this. Like, and the rap doesn't, and the rap, I know Linkin Park and Rage Against the Machine, but this rap doesn't sound exactly like Mike Shinoda or the dude from Rage, you know? And so they're like, I don't know if I'll put this on the rock radio station because it doesn't sound exactly like those bands. But if you remember, like Rage Against the Machine, so my radio promo rep, Laura Curtin, she's amazing. She used to do the radio for Rage Against the Machine. And she said that so many people said no to their songs.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not putting this shit on the radio. And like, they heard no. Even Korn, when she tried to put Korn on the radio, like so many people, when they were trying to make new things and new unique sounds, they heard the word no from radio stations over and over and over and over and over again. And they just kept making unique stuff. And then somebody threw it on the radio station and gave them a chance, and then it blew the hell up, you know? And that's what Laura had to beg. She begged for the Rage Against the Machine song to go on. It was like Sunday at 3 a.m. and it blew up. And then boom, Rage Against the Machine is huge. You know what I'm saying? But it all took somebody to just throw that shit on the radio at Sunday at 3 a.m., you know, and just make a chance for that, you know? And so I think that's the only thing that, like, I wish that, like, I know that computers and technology have made it so easy for us to content create and make things, you know, like heard on a large mass scale that I guess it can circumvent the gatekeepers now, because we can reach large audiences now in other like via social media or whatever, and then drive it to our stuff. If you know, and then who cares? Then those people can reach out and be like, man, I've loved you guys from the beginning. I've been wanting to put you on our radio station from the beginning. Great.
Right.
Okay, come to me now. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I can't tell you how many times gatekeeping has and kind of come in between me and what I wanted to do. It's like, and it's, I mean, it's everywhere. It really is. And it's harder. I mean, you mentioned Octane. I think Octane is probably the closest station that probably would play you in a heartbeat if they haven't already.
Yeah.
Because,
We've been on Octane.
Okay.
Test drive. We've been on Octane test drive. Yeah.
On test drive, and because you know they do that mainstream, that's going to be a little bit tougher, I think, and that goes for anybody. It seems like. You know, unless you're a Five Finger Death Punch sounding or something like that, because you're not going to hear, like, I don't know if you guys like KMFDM. I don't think, you know, they're not played on the radio, but they do very well, you know, and they're more industrial. But you know, I find that it's annoying to me that mainstream radio will only play certain genre, right? And they're not even allowed to really pick their own songs. So, you know, it's all, there's like what, 5 corporations that own all the radio stations in the US, and they're all pretty much programmed, you know, so that don't give anybody like you guys a chance unless it's like 3 a.m. and some DJ just wants to slip it in, right? So
yeah.
I mean, there are, you know, like I said, the Octanes, more independent online radio stations, I think. I'm not sure what you know, have you gotten anything on like mainstream radio at all?
Yeah, we have. And I'm more so talking about, like, you asked the generic question of things that like bother you versus, you know, in music versus
right.
that you find really beautiful. And I think I was just, and we've been on, you know, radio stations, and we've been on like Octane and like Test Drive, you know, that's not what I was saying. I was just more so saying, like, in a general way, I think one thing that has bothered me is that, like, it did take Rage Against the Machine so many like years of no for just one person to be like, okay, this sounds weird and different, but I'm going to give it a chance. Right. And so I felt that with LILAC, I had to push, and Laura, our radio promo rep, had to push and push just to like get people to be like, okay, you know, I'll give it a little spin and we'll see whether people like it. And people loved it, you know? And so it's just a matter of like, I think that people, so I want us to like, we want to be new. We want to, you know, see the beauty in the chaos, and everybody wants to feel, you know, chaotic. You know, we want to feel like there's something new and it's not generic, right? We're craving it. So give the people what they want. You know what I'm saying? Like, let it be heard, you know? And like, you know, I think that social media is, I guess, going to have to be the way to do that, to kind of be the anarchy of like, okay, well, if I can't really like get through these channels, maybe we can like hack around it and, you know, get through via this way instead. Yeah.
I mean, social media marketing, it's probably the best it's ever been, right? You can go on, I mean, what is there, 5, 6, 7 different platforms that you can really push if you needed to or wanted to. So I know we're coming up at the end of this thing. So before you go, you said it comes out in August, your first single. So is it coming up on like a CD, vinyl? How's this coming up?
Gotcha. So yeah, we're going to release on all digital distribution stores. So check it out. We'll have the music video on YouTube, of course. So you guys can watch the new crazy music video where, you know, robotic, you know, war happening. Okay. We're all barely human, you know, we'll see how that goes. So go to YouTube, watch the crazy video. I'm assure you it's going to be crazy. And then it'll be on Spotify and Apple Music, all the online distribution stores. And then we're going to have a physical CD at our shows. So you can come to any of our crazy shows where we're climbing light towers and lifting keyboards above our heads and stuff. Like, you can come to those shows and you can buy a physical CD. And I think a few fans have already asked for vinyl to be made. So I may or may not make some vinyl for the Barely Human release. We'll see. All right.
So any last thoughts you have before you go? Anything you'd like that we didn't cover?
Yeah. We have some shows already booked in Florida. So if you guys live in Florida, go to lilac.com, LYLVC.com, and you can check out the shows that we've already booked. We have like one in Pennsylvania and then a few in Florida that are just kind of some ad hoc shows. And then also we're working on a fall tour. So we should be announcing with the Barely Human release, like in August, we should be announcing a fall tour very soon of more states. And you guys can check out those dates and come rock out with us.
And they can follow at your socials, I imagine, your Instagrams, Twitters, whatever's, right?
Yeah. Go to any everywhere, like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere. Just type in LYLVC.
All right. Cam, Alyse, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me for close to an hour here. It's been awesome. Thank you so much.